How easy is it to change yourself in your life? Get working recipes. How to transform. How to improve your health. Alone and with a trainer. To become the star of the beach. This instruction manual to get a practical result on the channel Fresh Life 28.
Hello everyone, this is Basilio, and we are talking about how to start a new life on Monday and not give it up. You can find out who I am and what this blog is about right here. I remind you that this blog was created for people who are busy with work and not related to sports. In the last video, I told you a little bit about nutrition. And before I show you how to count calories and how easy it is to organize meals 5 times a day, I need to teach you how to deal with the doubts that you most likely already have after watching past videos. We will strike at the myths and misconceptions that threaten to turn our lives into hell. I will tell you why, in the field of fitness, nutrition, and beauty, there is so much contradictory information, why there will always be positive reviews about any technique, and why you can find any recommendations, even if they do not work in practice to your liking, no matter what you are looking for. Most of the time, I hear incredulous remarks in response. Come on. One of my friends or one of my girlfriends, and everything is fine, they were able to lose weight perfectly. I'll start with the simplest, but at the same time the most harmful myth that makes you doubt what you've heard. Even if Google gives you proof to the contrary from the world champion, this myth helps charlatans and obscurantists to extract money from you by making promises, whose falsity you will not be able to verify. Having dealt with this, you will eliminate 50% of the doubts about what I said and will say in the future. Moreover, you will understand the manipulations that frighten and deceive us in an effort to benefit. I call this myth the secret of the female friend who can eat cupcakes at night and not gain fat, or the secret of my great-grandfather who drank alcohol, smoked, ate anything, often ate at night, and lived to 99 without gaining weight. You may have noticed that each of us has such an acquaintance. They can drink beer with chips, eat cakes at corporate parties, and at the same time their bodies remain toned and slender. What cunning people. They must have some kind of secret. It's just an incredible ability, isn't it? Perhaps even an innate talent. At best, a friend will honestly tell you that she doesn't know why. In the worst case, she will defiantly enjoy the cake while you try to refuse, and will advise you, come on, I eat everything and I don't get fat. You just need to swim a little in the pool once a month, pedal once a week, and of course, do enemas with tincture of some special herbs. Absolutely necessary. But you've already tried swimming and running, and only strange enemas with exotic ingredients have been ignored so far, right? But it helps her. But you don't. She's lying, and she doesn't reveal secrets. Or maybe her methods just aren't for everyone. Parents often add fuel to the fire. It's all because you spend days at your computer. Your grandfather drank, smoked, ate everything, lived to be 99 years old and was not fat, and all because... And then there are a lot of conclusions like, he was playing football, he was doused with cold water. Hiking and tempering are certainly useful, even though it's not a magic enema. But it helped your grandfather, but it didn't help you. Why am I so sure of this? Because otherwise you wouldn't be watching my video blog. In fact, it is precisely such examples that underlie most of the distorted beliefs. When someone has lost weight thanks to one cleansing magic enema, they are sincerely confident that this universal solution will work for everyone. That's their secret. And to be honest, the shared secret of a friend and grandfather is their genetics. Why do I have gray eyes and you have brown ones? Why are you a 6-foot athlete and I'm only 5 feet 8 inches tall? Because we are genetically different. There are no exercises or supplements that can turn gray eyes into brown ones. Similarly, our bodies react differently to stress, store fat, and build muscle mass in different ways, and there's nothing you can do about it. Therefore, there is always a small percentage of genetically gifted people who can eat anything and not get fat. This is not a secret or a magical technique. This is what they inherited. That is why it is useless to ask them how they managed to achieve such results. They may not run in the morning, and they can easily afford 2 cheat meal, and their actions instantly lead to the result, a genetically programmed low percentage of fat. Fortunately, there are not many such people. There used to be a lot more of them. Why? Ask yourself the question. No matter if you have children or not, how many times, if not for antibiotics, would you have already died before giving birth to your first child? Each of us, I think, will be able to recall at least a couple of such cases. Diseases like typhoid, sepsis, tuberculosis, dysentery, and pneumonia, which are successfully treated today, were considered fatal until recently. You can also add a wound infection on the battlefield. In the 16th century, the average life expectancy was about 30 years, and even at the beginning of the 20th century, even a small scratch could be fatal. Antibiotics, as medicines, appeared by chance at Fleming in 1928. From the point of view of evolution and natural selection, this means that we, in fact, should not have had offspring. We are a genetic error of nature, with a fragile inheritance that is poorly adapted to survival. But we are being treated, giving birth to children and treating them. Do you think this improves our breed? Unfortunately, no. What was the infant mortality rate and life expectancy in the 19th century if children were not baptized in villages for up to a year? What was the point of spending money on a ritual with a mortality rate of 30%? And this is the beginning of the 20th century. Not all of the survivors lived to adulthood. When parents blame the computer for your appearance and cite your great-grandfather as an example, they forget that your great-grandfather is a descendant of a 17th century Siberian peasant who survived without medication, one of 17 children. Many diseases in recent years have been associated with a violation of natural selection. Ecology and stress are important, but not the main ones. Do you want your great-grandchildren to live without a mountain of pills? Start taking care of yourself now. That's my advice. The only reason why grandfather could drink, smoke, and live the way he did is genetics. Do you think I'm talking platitudes? Yes, that's right. But if people really paid attention to such obvious points, a lot of useless techniques and fake supplements would forever remain unclaimed. Now imagine that between me, a person with less than ideal genetics, and people with perfect genetics, there is a vast spectrum of differences. Some of them can easily achieve success with minimal effort. This is exactly what those who write articles without specifics, scammers, and other similar people use. And all those who create new, unique techniques and supplements, as well as other traps for your money and hopes. It is impossible to verify their promises without real tests. You can declare anything. Nutrition and supplements are not medicines. They are either not licensed at all, or they are only superficially tested. There will always be people with such a genetic predisposition that any method, even slightly helpful to the body in reaching natural standards, will work for them. And these people are beginning to actively promote their methods on social networks and forums. Out of 100 people, this will help only 5, and the rest will be tormented by the question of what they are wrong about, but they will not get an answer. Here is an example that I took from a popular forum. By the way, this forum, which is quite famous, published an article signed with the name of a famous athlete, which contained, to put it mildly, inadequate nutrition recommendations, and links to questionable research. In most cases, a lot of people there are literate. With a good level of education, they immediately noticed the absurdity of this article. But as always, there was a girl who left a comment that you see now. The essence of her comment was that the method is good, she is completely satisfied with it, it worked perfectly for her body, and she will continue following these recommendations, while everyone else are losers who can't do the same. There you have an example of social activity I was talking about. It's also worth noting that if you go into the profile of this girl, then at least in my opinion, you can't see anything that could indicate her athletic achievements. Her body shape is quite far from perfect, and it immediately catches the eye. But if she likes it, then so be it. But the main thing is that people don't understand the very essence. If this technique worked on her, it doesn't mean that it will work on everyone else. Misunderstanding of this fact leads to the spread of these dubious methods. What should I do? Which tips are suitable and which are not? This video blog contains general principles that work for everyone. Depending on your genetics, they will work better or worse, but they work for everyone. And the next time someone tells you that this YouTube guy is talking nonsense, I have a friend who pumps his abs by wrapping his stomach in polyethylene with manure, and 2 days later his abs cubes are already visible. You know, even if this is true, it's not worth wasting time on such experiments. It's not about the method, it's about genetics. Your time is your resource for friends, work, and life. Don't waste it. And yes, I have often encountered negative attitudes towards people with outstanding genetics. Men envy them, and women often consider them witches or warlocks. How else can we treat such people? They eat everything and don't gain fat. How would you react to the arrogance of a billionaire who mockingly and pompously tells you, well, what losers and fools you are? I don't understand how you can work for such pennies and take out a mortgage. And I could buy myself a villa in Spain tomorrow. That's roughly how you should treat them. Feel sorry for them. They won't be able to change in this area. They have no incentive. And changing yourself as a person and seeing the results in the mirror is really cool. So, let's summarize the results. Ask yourself the question: are you one of those who are genetically gifted enough to build muscle just by looking at dumbbells and not gain fat, even if you overeat before going to bed? If you're watching my video blog, you're probably not one of them. Every time you want to object to me, but I know a friend who could do it and even more. Remember this number one myth. Half of the incorrect information about body changes comes from everyday myths and erroneous interpretations. Why do we look different, even if we lead a similar lifestyle? The answer is simple: genetics. In this video blog, I have collected tips that will suit almost all healthy people. Of course, their effectiveness will depend on your genetics. For some, they will bring greater results, for others less, but there will be an effect. However, there is a caveat. Now let's think about why we are so attracted to the idea of a miracle pill, forcing us to search for it in stores, on forums, or on the internet. Welcome to the world of consumer society. We live in a consumer society where values and principles are based on one postulate: money can buy anything, and therefore solve any problem. We've been trained to do this since childhood, and it's become the norm. We have already become accustomed to the fact that we can control the most complex processes, for example, landing a spacecraft on Mars, or performing operations by controlling them through tiny chambers in the arteries. We are holding gadgets in our hands that open access to all the knowledge of mankind in a couple of seconds. But why is there still no pill that allows you to eat everything and not get fat? How is that even possible? It seems like a paradox. But it is in this area that the consumer society is powerless. Yes, medicine has made a huge step forward, but the appearance of our body is an exception to the rule that money alone cannot handle. Our consciousness refuses to accept this fact. Food seems to us to be a natural and everyday part of life, whereas a trip to Mars is perceived as an incredible achievement of mankind. But we are starting to search with obsession and excitement for this pill. Maybe it's all about the money? No problem. How much do you need? With such a huge demand and a complete lack of control or clear evaluation methods, there will always be plenty of offers. There will be a lot of them, but none of them work. Why? I am a mathematician by training, and I propose to prove it by the method of the opposite. Let's say such a pill exists. Today, billions of dollars are spent on luxury cars, branded clothing, plastic surgery, and cosmetics. All this is aimed at making a statement to the world. I'm better than the others. If this miracle remedy really existed, the price wouldn't matter. We would see slim and toned bodies on every beach every summer. If such drugs were expensive, many millionaires with fancy cars would have owned them a long time ago. It would become so ubiquitous that an ideal physique would become commonplace, and people would begin to deliberately gain weight and neglect their appearance in order to stand out among the crowd of models. Tell me, do you see perfect bodies everywhere every spring and summer? Number. Are there slim and fit people among those who get out of expensive cars? Not either. Most often these are people with bellies, spoiled by food and living under stress. Friends, there are no such pills. Do not look for them. Maybe you're hoping to find a softer way. For example, once a month or a week, it will be possible to overeat and drink alcohol with impunity. Search the internet, and you will find stories of those who have been helped by this technique. Will this method work for you? Number why? For the same reason we've already discussed. To sum up, as soon as hundreds of thousands of models start appearing on the beaches and on the streets with beer and hamburgers in their hands, you will find out from them what kind of pills they are taking, and you will forget about my video blog. It will become a massive phenomenon that everyone will be talking about. For now, don't waste time searching. Biochemistry, the process of converting food into energy for the body, is more complicated than landing a rover. There are no such pills yet. Demand generates supply. Therefore, there will always be many offers of miracle supplements on the market. I hope I have explained to you at least a little bit how this monstrous confusion arises in the field of nutrition and weight loss. So who should I trust? Here are my recommendations. Definitely do not believe those who are trying to sell you at least one pill or supplement. Find the authority, someone who couldn't lose weight for a long time and finally did it. A coach, where many students achieve stable and frequent results. Or a video blogger whose advice is based on empirical experience. You don't need to listen to someone who can always eat and not get fat. After you have chosen an authority, decide on the time frame. 2 months of practice is more than enough. If there are no results, then something is wrong. After you have chosen a teacher and methodology, you have decided on the deadlines. That's it. During the testing period of the chosen method, do not perform any unnecessary actions. You should not chase a dozen birds with one stone. And that's almost all I wanted to tell you. I have given you an intellectual weapon that you can use when they try to impose nutritional fake supplements or new techniques on you. Now, you want to learn how to count calories and organize proper nutrition 5 times a day. Great. We'll deal with this in the next lesson. Subscribe to the channel, like it, and share it with your friends. It's always more fun together. And remember, as I've said and will keep repeating, the ability to think is the key to success. After all, the stingy pays twice, the fool 3 times, and the one too lazy to think will keep paying forever. Leave comments and ask questions on the website freshlife28.ru. Basilio was with you. Bye-bye. And now, as always, a review for next week. How to count calories. We repeat the math of the 4th grade of school. But what about individuality? You talked about genetics yourself. Or why doesn't it make sense to buy a nutrition program online? 5 meals a day. How to organize it? Do you carry food with you? How can you not give the impression of being a loser and a poor guy in the eyes of other people?